My name is Mustafa Hoshi and I'm from Egypt. I just work in Boston, came for the lecture. My question was kind of around how optimistic or pessimistic are you in terms of the ability of secular parties to conduct effective grassroots campaigns to compete with the Islamists? I mean, I know historically, right, the Mubarak regime kind of stifled the secular opposition given international acceptance and such, but just given the Salafi success over performance and I guess this relative secular underperformance in the last elections, just your thoughts on being on the ground. How do you see that playing out? What's the time frame you see if it were to be successful and so on?
A lot of the people who asked to meet me when I was in Cairo wanted to talk about things like reinterpretation of Islam, different kinds of Islam, a liberal Islam, other kinds of Islams than the Islam that is put forward by the Muslim Brotherhood and the Salafis, which says to me that many people are recognizing that the way to challenge both those two movements is through a somewhat religiously based approach, because they recognize that Egypt is a conservative country. They recognize the pivotal role of religion. But we also have to recognize that there are secular liberal Egyptians who have been sidelined, as you said, because, I mean, as I said earlier as well, Mubarak had the Muslim Brotherhood, left the mosque alone, and so those of us who identified with neither really had very little room for maneuver. The Muslim Brotherhood, to their credit, what they did do was they went out there and provided the social services that the regime never did. The regime neglected all these people. And so my question then is, where were the secular liberal groups, and why didn't they go out to find out what the average Egyptian wanted? So this is really the challenge of secular liberal groups in Egypt, not just alternative interpretations of religion, but going out there and finding out what the average Egyptian wants. And doing it. Right, exactly, because now they recognize that you need to go out there and actually campaign for people's votes. Now, some of those groups, the Salafis, were giving out meat. Some of them were giving out oil. Some of them were giving out gas canisters. Okay, that's, instead of money for votes, it's meat for votes. That's the reality on the ground in Egypt. So get out there and find out what you need to do. But for me, I know as a secular liberal Egyptian, whenever I go to Egypt and I'm interviewed about my particular leanings, I make sure I use the word secular, ilmani, because it has such a dirty connotation in Egypt. To say you're secular almost means that you are an atheist. So we're actually having to dismantle, deconstruct the language, because for the longest time we had conservative Islam from the Muslim Brotherhood, conservative Islam from Mubarak to fight it, and those of us, we are now fighting the authentic label, that you can be authentic and Muslim and not conservative. That's our challenge, that you can be liberal and authentic. And also we have Christians in Egypt. Why should they have to identify with Islam?
This is an important question, and I know that guy.
Yeah.
I
also wanted to ask about the Christians too.
This is important. I actually agree 100% with Mona. But part of the issue here is that the liberals, during this campaign, they didn't do themselves any favors, right? So when they would campaign, they would talk about the Muslim Brotherhood or the Salafis want to implement Islam, and we want to do something else. And so the average Egyptian who is very sentimental and likes Islam says, okay, so I got the one party that's for Islam and the other party that's not for Islam, and the party that's for Islam is giving me meat, and so it's a no-brainer. What needs to happen is that the terms of political debate need to shift. And the secular liberal parties need to stop talking about being secular and liberal and start talking about things like redistribution, right? Unemployment, right? The Muslim Brotherhood doesn't want to have, I'm just going to make this up, doesn't want to have very progressive taxes, for example, and we do, right? Make that the issue, and then all of this other stuff will take care of itself. But if you keep on making the issue, I'm secular, love me because I'm secular, forget it. Nobody's going to love you. But you can get elected if you say, I'm going to redistribute to you if you're poor. And that's what the game has to be.
But someone has to make the fight for secular, though.
Because but not
you
the
need someone on the end.
Not if you want to get elected.
He's taking the pragmatic point that you have to just reframe because...
No, I understand. Well, the Muslim Brotherhood, they promote a free market philosophy for business. And one of the chants of this revolution is social justice. So if you present yourself as championing the poor by giving the poor what they need, but you're a free market person, then you get all the social justice people coming in and talking about redistribution. So there is room for maneuver here, and I think they've missed that room.
You may be a friend, but you're still allowed to speak.
Hi, my name's Matt Lewis.